Hey everyone, it's Life and Vibe, and I wanted to make sure I had everything ready to go. And obviously, I've been having a really busy Friday. Great to see everybody. This was one, so I do apologize. I just wanted to make sure everything was in StreamYard, all of my images. I've been doing a lot of research today, just trying to clarify the story because I do want to make a disclaimer that obviously anything that I share today about Mike Dunn, Michael William Dunn Jr., born 7/3/1966. So that was his date of birth that I was able to find, is information that I have verified through search records. And you're going to hear the story that he tells, and then you're going to see the story that the U.S. government paperwork tells. And then we're going to try to figure out what exactly is the story, because it's not that I'm trying to make people's lives miserable. It's just that I think that when you have a very large platform, you are trying to sell a really distinct narrative around self-reliance and personal responsibility. And then in reality, it's just a narrative. It's that's why he's so angry at the idea that I might start to do any type of research. And, I think the people who have large platforms on social media, especially YouTube, you're making a lot of money, you're going to get scrutiny. And it should be scrutinized because this person is particularly giving a narrative. And so anybody who's in the military, I really want you to be able to explain to me how you would perceive this particular story. Because what I'm finding from his military records that I've been able to acquire, and you're going to see them today, it's not the story that he shares on his channel at all. And so I'm just going to share the facts, and then I'm going to let you guys let me know. We're going to watch 2 videos today. I'm going to try not to react too much, but I will be stopping, obviously, just to make sure that everything that I do today is under fair use. Let me show this. Okay. Can we put the fair use? There we go. So anything I do is for information, educational purposes. Even though I am a registered nurse here in the United States, I do not treat or diagnose people who do use manipulation, fraud, and other tactics to win favor and money on the internet. That's my, these are my opinions and my opinions only. Disclaimer. All of these records are public records and they are verified. I haven't used any witchcraft or anything. You're all... And tomorrow's my birthday, by the way. So this is a pre-birthday stream. And instead of being out and about and enjoying the beautiful day in Virginia Beach, I've decided to expose another person on the internet who's embellishing their history. That's the best way I can put this. And so I'm going to present the facts that I have found. I'm going to let him tell part of his story first, and where he talks about his history in the military. And then I'm going to show you what I have discovered through the National Personnel Records Center. And they have sent me 2 very important documents along with an important letter. And I'll let you know what I used in my search, and I will disclose everything. And then we're going to sit down and listen to how he talks about his military record. And then I'm going to let you, as a community on YouTube, make a decision if you think it's okay for people just to spin a narrative because you like the persona, but it's not really a true representation of who this person is. And then the following week, next, I'm going to show the timeline of kind of his less desirable behaviors and interactions with law enforcement that sort of fit a narrative of somebody who's not this rugged, self-reliant individual who could, tell everybody else what the F to do, but actually somebody who's just happy to make his YouTube bag and sell a dangerous diet to people and be really happy. And the moment that he felt threatened by somebody who's going to do some actual checking into his background, got really angry and has threatened me with all sorts of things. But I promise you, one thing I'm really good at is research and verifying my facts. And I'm just going to lay out the records as I receive them. And I'm going to let the audience make a decision today. So over 30, you'd be over 30 and be hard to trust you. Well, I'm definitely over 30. Okay. All right. So we're going to listen to this video that he released. I won't let somebody else tell my story. I think the thing is on YouTube is that if you have a platform with 117,000 subscribers and you have a narrative around being a veteran, my oath never expires, and maybe that history is a little bit embellished, like a lot embellished, I think that's problematic for people who are truly veterans. My own history, I have family that have served many, many years in both the American and Royal Navy. And I just feel that it's important because they use it to build credibility on these platforms. And then he tore me down. All right, take it away, Mike.
Trauma. I get as far away from it as I can possibly get. It's just something I'm not into. And when I see it coming, I go the other way. But sometimes drama will come to you. Yep. That's what's happening to me right now. And so I'm going to go on the offense.
No, I'm certainly not downplaying the reserves as not having served, especially if you were deployed in any type of combat. What I'm saying is that if you're saying that you were active military and then you became reserves, and that's not the truth, then that's not telling your community the actual story. And you'll hear, so you just have to, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people don't serve. I'm just saying that what is the story being told? And should people just, you know, kind of embellish their military careers happily on the internet and add years and add active service that didn't really possibly happen? So that's what I'm trying to say. I served too. I've served as a registered nurse. Supposedly we were heroes at one point, but I'm being called a so-called, sorry, let me make me smaller, a so-called nurse by this guy. So I think it's just fair. But Mike isn't trying to sell anything. He has 3 tiers of membership. And he's certainly trying to sell a persona to gain credibility on the internet. So that is harmful, because if you're trying to say you're something you're not, that's a fraud.
Offense here. That's right. The offense. Now, I don't know if I would assume most of you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of you do. Let me get a drink of tea here. But I've come under attack. It's a very small channel. A very vile person.
Oh, shoot. I got to fix my banner.
I don't know this person. Never had any issues with this person. But this person despises me for one particular reason. Because I am carnivore. I'm not even 100% carnivore anymore, but this is the reason. She even stated...
No, I just don't like it when people lie to their audiences. I don't like you saying you can cure obesity when you're not a licensed medical professional. I also don't like when you say you don't like calling people with labels, but you called me a blue-haired liberal, a militant vegan, and all sorts of labels. So-called nurse. So you really are duplicitous in your speech. You definitely are somebody, it's your way or the highway. You're selling an absolute BS narrative in my respect. And I think you're somebody that I think is worth taking a deeper look at, because you make a lot of money off of YouTube, sir. Now, if your audience is okay with the fantasy of this rugged outdoorsman who spent all this time serving his country, have at it. But I think what you're going to find when I start showing more of who Mike Dunn is, you're going to find out his life was not very impressive. He's covering his tracks for what was probably not really a very distinguished life. And he's wrapped that up into a YouTube narrative to have 3 layers of membership on his channel, where one is $30. So tell me where he's not swindling people. I'd be curious to know. I'm just curious because to me, he's an absolute swindler. And in my opinion, from my research and seeing his history too, it's not great, guys. Most of you folks wouldn't think this was a great guy to hang out with. To be honest, I'll be honest. I know my audience.
So in the comments on a video I watched, I seen it in the comments. I think the guy, if you're watching on your channel, and I have copied that because I am in the carnivore.
And I also copied the comment where you called me a moron.
Or cult. This person is a nurse, supposedly a nurse, but has a lot of time.
All right. Well, I'm glad you like to police people's time. You've been supposedly unemployed since you were 55 years old. Would you like me to police your time? I think not.
I've dated a bunch of nurses, man. They're busy.
I bet they were CNAs. I can't imagine a registered nurse wanting to go down to an E3.
All the time. They're all. It can't be working. Just can't be working if you've got that much time.
Isn't that so funny that he wants to police me? Anyway, I'm going to let you keep talking, Mike, because it's interesting all the labels that you don't like to give people, but you've like to give me many because you don't want me poking around because you know I'm going to blow your cover as being somebody who's really embellished a lot of your history, sir. It's really distasteful to do that to your YouTube audience and to other veterans too. Kind of, and we're going to show that. This guy has had an aggravated DUI. Okay. He's had things that are not necessarily felonies, but he's certainly not been the best model citizen.
To be online so much. But here's the issue. The sole purpose of this person's channel is to go after, and they're men, apparently don't like men.
That's not true. I've also investigated female creators who try to scam their audiences of money. People who are promoting not following cancer treatments. People who don't follow their doctor's orders for type 2 diabetes. I've covered plenty of other female creators. So before you just blow off your mouth, why don't you take a look at my content? But I guess that would take a little bit too much research. Hey, Mike.
But go after people and try to destroy their channel. That's not going to happen with.
Well, I'm sorry about that CNA comment. That's just the way it rolls. I'm sorry. I'm feeling salty.
Me. Okay. I am pretty kosher to what's going on.
And I also don't like when CNAs say that they're nurses and they are aides. So I am salty about that. Because the CNA is a certified nurse aide. They are not nurses. And so I do draw a line as a registered nurse with them. I see that happen a lot. So that's why I question, because I can't imagine. Sorry. Just Mike doesn't strike me as somebody I wouldn't think twice of dating this person. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. And he's honest, so why can't I be?
She has a lawsuit filed with a big, he's not a big YouTuber. The guy doesn't.
But they're not, because I took my certified nurse aide license prior to becoming a registered nurse. And a nurse aide follows the orders from a registered nurse. They can't give medications. They can't follow a doctor's orders. They provide care and can do some basic things. And some can be licensed to draw blood in the hospitals, but most are not going to be having the same role. So there is a difference, and I will talk, and I'm happy to explain that. And if you feel upset, I'm sorry, but I've seen too many of those aides try to take in the roles of being actual nurses, and they're not nurses. They're nurse aides. It's like a physical assistant aide. It's like a physician's assistant saying that he's a doctor. It's no different. So I apologize if that felt stingy, but it's just a fact. And I'm obviously salty with this guy, so I'm moving on. Thank you. And if you need to move on, you can do that also. Thank you.
get hardly any views, but I guess I don't know any of the details. I don't watch the channel. I couldn't stand to watch this channel. This person is the complete opposite of somebody I would ever have a conversation with. Now, I'm not on here to bash this person, okay? I don't like the ways that I see this person is doing.
No, they are not licensed to push IV medications, and if any CNA, even an LPN is often not having to have somebody come with them to have certain drugs hung. So no, that is absolutely incorrect.
Right now, I don't understand why what I have done that I would deserve to be attacked. Now she's made.
I'm not attacking you. You attacked me more, but that's okay. Keep talking.
The community post. Now I'm not going to give this channel's name, but I can't help it if somebody in the comments were to put a link to the said channel. That's out of my control. But it didn't come from me. It won't be in the title. It won't be in the description. What you guys do in there, you know, the comment sections, that's Peyton's place in there, man. I'll let y'all run that. I got enough problems running the channel.
Yeah, run that. Seriously, with your echo chamber, Mike, the way you sanitize and probably dirty delete half your comments out of there. Don't worry. Keep sending folks my way. I don't care what they say about me. I'm sure we would get great. I'm sure whoever is coming over my way, we get on great for dinner. We'd be fantastic.
So apparently, because I'm carnivore, I am the next target. Right now, she's busy with this offended outcast guy. Now, I made a video, and I didn't mention his channel. All that's out in the open. All that's out in the open. I didn't put this guy's channel in the title. Probably a lot of you have already clicked off, but I want you to understand what's going on here. And I didn't really know all the details I knew some of the details about what's going on with his channel. And apparently he did some very bad crimes that involved a minor. Okay. And so whether, you know, it's in public record. So when all this came out, and this channel that I am talking about, the one that's attacking me, did not break this news. It was another channel. And she's riding on the coattails of all that. This is the MO of her.
Okay, well, this is my breaking news. It's not the MO of well, I guess it is. I'm an investigative channel, Mike. People have investigated me. I guess they haven't found anything interesting.
Channel. Riding on.
I have to pass a lot of background checks, I promise you. And I think that we don't hold any scrutiny to these thousands of creators that come online. We just buy their stories and look at all of this stuff behind them and look at a little bit of paperwork and take it as a fact. And I think it's because we would be rude if somebody actually said, hey, is this really true? And so if one of the things that I do, if something kind of doesn't sit quite right with me, like seeing a messy life that doesn't seem to be, I don't know, somebody in the way you actually address people doesn't seem that you have the composure of somebody who was in the military. My stepfather was 28 years as a Royal Naval officer, and I've spent many times in the military functions and along with these things with the Royal Navy. And I don't know, I live in a military town. Just don't get that feeling like that. Like hardcore military service.
On the coattails of others and putting her own spin on it. I don't know anything about her. Of course, she's anonymous and has the buy me a coffee link right there in the channel.
Well, let me put that out because it's my birthday weekend, guys. So if anybody wants to help me fund my research, there you go. Because Mike, as we'll show you, has 3 tiers or 4 tiers of membership on this particular. I think it's 3 tiers, with his highest level of subscription being $29.99 a month, just for him to respond to his audience. He doesn't do any member-only lives. He certainly doesn't do them as an ad-free experience. So it's very hypocritical, in my estimation, to say that you're not taking money from your channel when you are having that high of a subscription level. And that's a way for your community to donate. And you have it on your other channel with like 4 levels. So you have 7 chances for people to be a membership for you. So that's just the same. So, and you announced that recently. So, I mean, you really should not be trying to, throw stones in glass houses. So,
where you can donate money. Yeah, I don't have those things. So anyway,
no, you just have a $29.99 YouTube monthly subscription. On one, and he has many other levels before that. I'll show you those in a minute, because just to verify. But it's the same, and they're monthly, and they're high.
Well, the main reason I'm making this video, as I said in a couple videos back, yes, I have been arrested with DUIs. I got a couple of those. I told you about the shoplifting when I was 19. We did it for fun. So she had pulled up something from Oklahoma and posted it on a community post with my name, my full name.
Why is shoplifting fun? And why is DUI, which we'll take a look at? I'll flash you the larceny one in a minute. But the thing with the car, it's not as minor as he likes to play it. It's pretty bad. And when you look at the charges, like in his plea and the level of the DUI, it's not great.
And the offense from 2009. Now that doesn't make what I did doesn't make it better. I admit it was a bad mistake. As you know, I was a drinker. I have changed. I have not drank in almost 3 years. I gave that life up. In fact, my entire life changed when I moved to Arkansas 14 years ago. And I don't go to bars. Yes, I continue.
Well, that's great. But it doesn't seem to give you the authority to be a know-it-all on the YouTube, which is what you are. Especially when you say you cure obesity at the end of this video. We won't watch that. I showed that one already.
To drink until February of 24 was when I quit. I have not touched a drop since. I started eating better. I've lost weight. And I'm living a great life. And I'm an honest man.
We'll clarify the honesty today.
Now, this other man, this offended outcast, apparently he's not a veteran either. I think she found that out. How she finds that out?
Actually, he is a veteran. I want to clarify that. I did actually find Raymond's place of birth, which was Ohio. Oh, sorry. Was it Michigan? Michigan. And I was able to update his records and request it under Michigan. I think it was Michigan. I'm so confused. I've been looking up so many different people. And so the first time I looked, I didn't have enough information. They told me. So I went back and I clarified and I found out he served 2 years in the Marines. So I do have that letter. But we're not covering that today. But no, I updated that. So I have, just to show you that when I show you this record for Mike.
I don't know. I don't believe that the Veterans Administration should be giving out that kind of information.
It doesn't matter what you believe. There's what's known as the Freedom of Information Act. And as a proud American, you should be quite aware of that.
Information that could be public information. I don't know. I've never wanted to know if somebody was a veteran or not, because I haven't hung around people that have claimed to be a veteran and they're not. I am a veteran. I can assure you I am a veteran.
And that's what I need my military experts to let me know once you see these records. What constitutes an actual active, military veteran, and then somebody who served not in that particular active branch ever.
This is my military records. I'm not going to show you the files, but this is just part of it, okay? Every veteran, everybody that's been in the service has a 201 file. This is my 201 file. Yes, I have my own 201 file. I had a great unit administrator and copied everything out of my, you're not supposed to have these. You are not supposed to have these. But she made copies because my records were in such a mess. She says, I ain't never, ever going through your records again. And she made me copies and said, keep them in a safe place. I usually keep this at the courthouse, but I have it now. And it's just, you know.
Why are you keeping it at the courthouse? Is that for all your child support non-payments that you finally got caught up on?
Well, here's a set of orders welcoming me to Drill Sergeant Academy.
All right. Well, this is interesting. Okay. Let me share this image real fast. Okay. Okay. So this is the image that Mike is sharing here. Okay. Let me hide the comments because this is going to be a very key piece of evidence when we go to piece together his military and what he's saying here. So it's Subject Drill Sergeant School, DSS, and it's going to be from the 23rd of May until the 6th of June, 87, which would have put Mike at 21 years old because he was born in, well, actually 20 years old. It was just prior to his 21st birthday because he would have been 21 in 87, in July of 87. So it's congratulations. You have been selected by your command. Now the command, you'll figure, I'll tell you what this is. To attend Drill Sergeant School on the above indicated dates. You will report to building 7453 Fort Polk, Louisiana, prior to 1400 hours on the 23rd of May. Uniforms will be Class B, short sleeves, green shirt, emergency telephone numbers, and then this has this particular code here, IAAW, all personnel E3 and below, and you'll see that Mike was an E3, will be appointed acting corporal. So he was going to be giving this status from what I'm seeing from his discharge from the military, from the reserves. His discharge from the reserves was an E3. Corporal, and report to Drill Sergeant School wearing corporal stripes on their Class B uniforms. Now, I understand you could get like a temporary rank advancement for that time to go to these particular schools. And then once you were out, you would go back to your usual rank. And that was so that you could lead like other recruits in the program. You should arrive mentally and physically ready for 2 weeks of demanding training. And so, and I will show you where I actually have, where they show in his record from the National Personnel Record Center that, yes, he did have a drill sergeant school, but not the way he tries to say it was. It's a little embellished is what I'm trying to say. It's not quite like because we're going to listen to another video where he's sitting down with a veteran and he talks more about his service. And here he's going to tell you how long he spent serving. Okay. And it's very key details. Okay.
In 1986, 87. Yep. Right there. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not going to show you. They just probably got my damn social security number on it. Military puts your social on everything. But these were my orders for that. I'm a veteran. I am not going to sit here and but I am a veteran. So if she comes on with this video she's putting out and saying, I am not a veteran, I don't
have enough military expertise. I just know what the records are.
I got 14 years total service between active duty and the
14 years total service between active duty. Okay, listen, it's going to be really key to hear this. 14 years is what he's stating. And I'll share with you the records I've so far verified. Now I can go back and get more, but I'll show you what they're telling me from the government.
Reserves, and it's in that file. So the video that I would make if I find out, I don't mind her making. I mean, I do mind her making the video, but if she only shows the actual things that what's the truth, that's fine because I've already disclosed this to you guys. But if I went and looked today at the Oklahoma court records online, and I put my name in, and I seen the one that she discovered. I also found.
Make sure to give me a like, guys, so people can find this stream, because I don't often stream about Mike Dunn, and most of his audience, I know he's alienated people like Tim has. His history of he caught up with his child payments because of his YouTube success, but he sells this persona. Like he just said, he just stopped drinking alcohol in 2024. So, and that's when his channel started to blow up, when he went onto a carnivore diet and really got this persona, and has been able to build a couple of 3 channels now and multiple tiers of memberships. And that's how he gets up. I'd be curious to know how much he gets through those alone, because I think he introduced recently, but I'm just curious. And now he's wanting to do podcast. I mean, I feel like he's building a character and a level of authority for somebody who's like, I'm just figuring out where it's earned.
Found a speeding ticket. I was going 90 miles an hour. I had a Ford Probe, and me and a buddy was going from Nowata, Oklahoma to Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And it's a desolate road. I said, let's see what this puppy will do. And I floored it, and by God, as soon as I did.
And he loves to play into that country boy. And I don't know if he wasn't born in Ohio, because it sounds like his parents had him when they were quite young, from what I'm figuring out. Which is nothing wrong, because I had a teenage mother too, okay? So don't get all in the comments about that. Just saying, there's sort of psychological trajectories around these things. Him dating plenty of nurses and this, that, and the other. I don't know about that.
The highway patrol comes out of nowhere.
Oh, of course. Freaking Dukes of Hazzard over here. It's never his fault. I guess it was, what was the name? Boss Hogg, the sheriff.
Pulls me over. And so I got a ticket for that. So that's on there. But there's also 100 other Michael Dunn's on there.
Well, yeah, but I've got really good details to narrow you down, like your middle name, your suffix, junior, and your full date of birth, and roughly where you were living.
So I hope she gets the right ones, because what you can do is you click on the name and it usually gives the birth date, and there's all kinds of different birth dates. But I only have 2 records on that. Well, actually, and then I've got my marriage. When I got married the last time in 2011, that applying for the marriage license. And then what was the other one? Oh, yeah. I've talked about this, where I had one of those cheesy credit acceptance corporations took me to court. I bought a new Ford Explorer. I didn't have that thing 2 days, and the transmission went out, and I gave it back to the dealer, and they would not forget.
That's not where I understood your collections came from. When I examined what your collections was for, because I've gone over I'm going to do this in another stream, because I don't want to make this super long today, guys, because I'm going to be streaming again for Tim later. I hear Tim's losing it. This guy's going to start losing it soon too. But we're going to make sure we verify with facts, because he's already threatening to send me to court. But he'd have to come to Virginia if he wanted to do a defamation.
Did the loan or whatever, and so I ended up getting garnished. And the stuff that a lot of people have went through. And I do not have any felonies. I would not have a veteran's card. I would not receive.
I've never said you got felonies. And I guess you get these codes regardless. These are VA codes. Interesting. Because I'd like him to help me figure this all out, because this is not what the Army's telling me.
$1,800 a month from disability, VA disability, if I had any felonies. I've never had a felony in my entire life.
Boss Higgs?
And I don't plan to ever.
It was Boss Higgs, not Boss Hogg?
Ever have one. Veterans know this. If you have a felony, you don't get benefits. You don't get health care. You don't get anything with a felony, as far as I know. I recently purchased firearm for my father. Okay, you can't do that with a felony. I've purchased a lot of firearms. You can't do that.
Do you think that was his dad's VA card, and that's why he was covering the picture? I wonder if his dad was in the military.
If you're a felon. So I don't know what kind of video this person is making. I just wanted you to know ahead of time. That's all she's going to find. And if anything else is said, it is not true. And I have read some comments that were made that are putting me in the same class as this child molester guy. Trust me. That is.
Well, no, I wasn't putting you in the same class. I was responding. I was showing your reaction to somebody that was obviously committing a heinous crime. And you really didn't seem to think that it seemed to be that problematic, really. Your take was not one that I thought was awesome. And then you got really upset. And then you started calling me names. And then I was like, oh, he's very upset about me checking his military record. Let me have a look.
No, not this guy. You are not going to find any kind of thing like that on me. That is, no.
I don't think
I am not that kind of person. That nothing like that.
I am not the person to ask, Catherine. But he covered the photo of the VA code, but showed the VA, but the picture he covered, which made me think, was it the picture of a dad? Like, you know, because he maybe picks up his dad's medications. It looks like nothing he showed. Well, thank you, Jared. See, I need your expertise, guys. Hey, Angel. I just know that I live in a military town, but I don't know what all their paperwork looks like.
I haven't even seen my own kid ever. Okay. So yeah, I wasn't allowed to see him. I got kids. I don't know that I could.
Said see him and kids. So how many? I don't know that it's my business, but you know, the unwillingness to pay your child support. I'm telling you, all of these things are not things that are making me think, wow, he just had an epiphany in 2024. No, he just lost weight and was able to shill a carnivore diet and take out his community's kidneys along with his.
Never see. So there you have that. So I just ain't never been around many. I would hope allegations like that would never be.
Yeah, he's going to come up with all sorts of stories, guys. He's an over embellisher.
Be brought out because they would definitely not be true. And I will be filing a lawsuit faster than you could spit on a hog, man. I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Well, what if I show these records? Oh, the collections issues were so worse than he is explaining. That I don't know, unless he's got an extra collection issue I'm not aware of. That's what I'm saying. Now, I played this the other night, so I'm not.
All I'm saying is better tread lightly. And that's just my offense, guys. I mean, there's nothing I'm real worried about. You guys, yeah, DUIs. Yes, they were bad. Everybody has some things in their past they're not proud of. Those were bad things.
Yeah, I guess mine's just my ex-husband.
Things I was not proud of. But I'll tell you this. The ones I got, except for...
All right. I played all this the other night. He's still going on about his DUIs and just how many different times, you know, he's really trying to cover because he's like, oh, shoot, she might find out about all of this stuff. Found out about 2 things so far in Oklahoma. 3, actually. I think 3. Yeah, 3. 3 things I have confirmed with physical verified records. Okay. So thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. So we're going to take a look at Mike's paperwork that I received through the National Personnel Records Center. And I just requested these. I used his full name. I used his date of birth, Oklahoma, and Army. And I said he was in the Army active because that's what he says. He says he was 14 years between Army, active, and reserves. And so I'm like, oh, he did pay child support? He did finally catch up, thanks to that sweet YouTube coin. Probably wanted to do some things with his channel or set up an LLC or something. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So let's take a look at this. So this is the letter that I received from the I did do some research because something was, I was like, I'm just curious. Come on. I'm an investigative channel. I want to make sure that people are taking their time and sending their subscription monies and using their AdSense time or whatever with people that are really honest about who they are. And I just what I do on the internet. I enjoy it. I like doing investigative work. I'm not trying to pick on specifically people. I do a broad range of people. These types of characters can really get to the vulnerable senior population. People love to, support and call me names if I say anything about anybody. Okay. So this is the letter I received. I'm going to hide the comments, guys. And then I'm going to have to bring this up on a preview so I can read it out loud because it was kind of long. Okay, let me see. This is the first page. Yes. Okay. I'm just going to open that. Okay. So it's obviously it was addressed to me. I went through what is known as the National Personnel Records Center through the National Archives. So anything that happened after 1973 is not going to be subjected to any fire that happened. And that was in a specific place and covered like Army records. But Mike would not have been in the military until 1984, I think is when he went in. So it says, obviously, my channel and so forth. I think I've hidden all those details though. Yes. Okay. Just so you can see my name, my channel name, and then his name. And then obviously I used his, like I said, his suffix, and then I used his date of birth in Oklahoma. And it says, thank you for contacting the National Personnel Records Center. Under the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, the Department of Defense has determined that certain items of information may be released to the general public without a warranted invasion of the individual's privacy. A search of the electronic record systems maintained by the Military Service Department has identified an incomplete United States Army Reserves record. We are enclosing NA Form 131, I think that's 64, information releasable under the Freedom of Information Act, containing the available items of information. However, because the record is incomplete, we are not able to provide everything releasable under FOIA. If the limited information we are able to provide is not sufficient for your needs, we suggest you contact the office shown below for further assistance. It's at the Army, Department of the Army, Army Human Resource Command, and then it gives me the address in Knoxville, Kentucky. If this individual has served in the National Guard, they should contact the Adjutant General Office of the state in which they serve. The address and phone number for this, and from the telephone directory assistant using the name of the state in which so they're talking about the National Guard, which Mike has never spoken of. And so everything I'm seeing is just from reserve records. I'm not seeing anything that came through. And so I didn't put in for reserves. So I put in for active Army. So had I known it was just reserves, then maybe I would have looked for something different. So let me show you the second page. Okay, so then the second page just finishes out this conversation. And then I'll show you what the rest of the records I did get too, because they gave me a couple other extra records as well. So let me see this one. And then it tells me about who the name of the actual archives technician was, who was Janet Kincaid. It says the actual case number that I filed. That obviously they value the privacy of veterans, and that this was just taken, and we just completed this in July of this year, as you saw on the date, July the 31st. Okay, so the next interesting document that then came is this particular one, And this was what they were able to release to me about Michael William Dunn Jr. This is the FOIA Act. This is what they were able to tell me. And so let me try to read and explain, because maybe people who are in the military can explain this better than me. This is just what I've been saying. I'm not saying that he's not a veteran. I'm just saying this is what they're saying about the length of time of his service, what records they've been able to find. He did say his records were a mess. So, I mean, let's take a look here. Okay, so this is his, I think this is it. Okay. No, that's his. I found a duty station too. Okay. So this is obviously his name. Okay. So the branch of service, the only branch of service that I have listed, and I asked for Army active, and that he was, no longer an active member, but that was his, branch was Army and active. Well, they looked for active Army, and the only branch that they found him under was reserves. And that's not to say that the reserves don't do important work, but Mike Dunn clearly talks about a role being both active and reserve military service, which is very common, that people will serve active duty and then they'll go home to their own homes and they will participate in the reserve role and still get a little bit of a stipend. And if anything were to happen, they might get called back up into service for the country. And so that's not an uncommon thing. But he is not being shown. And you can see the dates here that they found. So his reserve, now this is what I find interesting, because you'll see this one part active, but you'll realize that this is where they do this specific training that's for the reserve so that they can go back to their town or city or wherever their duty station area is for the reserves. And so in 1983, Mike would have been just, so he was born in 1966. So he would have been just 17 years old, because he was 17 in July of 1983. So in July of 1983, Mike Dunn entered on the 5th of August, the Reserve Army. And he was in the reserves until October the 21st, 1992. And then what they call active, this is from September the 20th, 1983. So just slightly a couple of months after he entered the reserves. And that wouldn't be unusual, that he may have to take some time to get into getting into the training, because I think they did like certain types of training to have them prepared, and they would pay them like a full-time active Army soldier in order to get a pay while they were in their specific training, because their training was different from regular boot camp. He was active through basic training. Yes, that's what he was. He was active training. He was active through his basic training. Correct. But he was still part of the reserves. So they do that so that they can give them pay. So 7 months and a little bit. So just over 7 months of time he spent on active duty in a boot camp and training, and then probably returned back over to his duty like reserve station afterwards. Maybe you guys understand it better, but this is what my research is explaining. And then he was just September this 20th, 1983 to May 2nd, 1984. So it's about 7 months of active service, obviously in a peacetime era too. There was nothing happening in this time that he would have ever seen combat. And he says he never saw combat. So that would have been his training session. He was discharged 92 as a private first class, which I understand is an E3. So he didn't really rank up a great deal. Assignments, geographical location. I do have that information. So you'll see the one place where I could find where he was assigned. His military education. We know he went to the Phase 2 Drill Sergeant School. He shared that. In 1987, he went to the 2 weeks of training with the drill sergeant as part of the reserves, because that's how they have him listed. And then it says here he was on Army service. He got some ribbons. some sharpshooter badges, with a grenade bar, expert badge, auto rifle, but he doesn't have like any medals or anything to say anything. He came in Oklahoma City, and he came out in discipline. Well, he was only serving reserves. See, he was only in the reserves. He was in the reserves. He was not active like Army. He only ever was the branch he only ever served was reserves. From what I understand, the reserves, they wouldn't did training, and they would turn them to active during that boot camp training. And then when they got back, they went back to reserves. It's not exactly a 14-year career either. Remember, he just said he was 14 years. I'm not counting 14 years here. I have from 1983. This is what they said, okay? After his training, he was a weekend warrior. Well, don't say that, because somebody wanted to make sure very clearly that there's no disrespect. Downplaying being reserves is not having served. So the reservists get very upset. So that's what I want to clarify with people. What is the actual, because his service was not Army. He was an Army reserve. Not to say, but I don't know if that's still what he's claiming, because you're going to watch how he talks in a minute. And then what else does he have? And then he separated out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, north of the Rock. So right here at the top, branch of service and serial service numbers, United States Army Reserves. Never says anything about him ever. They couldn't find anything other than him being connected the letter clearly with the reserves. There's no active Army, and that's what I requested. And I had a lot of detail. And they couldn't find anything. I found Raymond Krebs 2-year Marine. I found this guy's reserve, and they talk about active service for 7 months. That's it. That's all they speak about. Okay, then that last piece of paper that came with it is this. And you guys let me know what you feel. Okay, so this is the assignment. I did make sure that any of the actual, really identifying details were removed, okay? So where's the lie? Well, he said he served for 14 years. And he said he was active duty. He was a reserve the whole time. That active is just what they do to give him pay while they're in boot camp. It's not because he actually served in the branch of the U.S. Army as an active member of the U.S. Army. He was a member of the U.S. Army Reserves always. But that's not the story he tells. It's also 9 years, which is 5 years less than the 14 he just said. I mean, unless his memory's really bad, that's not the story that he's telling. Exactly. So, yeah, well, so not active like that, not Army like the way he claims Army. His active status was 7 months for training. And that I understand. And people who know the military, from what I understand, they did that in order to cover his time while he was in reserve training. They'll put them on active duty. But once they're finished with their training, they take them off the active status and they're back to their reserve status and their weekend drills. For 13 years. Right. And he will tell you that he did not get deployed, because we're going to listen to that. And so he does not have a deployment. Someone won't find out. Well, I think it's just, it's the case of, it's how much we just accept that, like, okay, well, he's not really a real Army. All right, we're going to watch a video. So this particular paper, though, shows where he was stationed. Yeah, Mike has a disdain for younger generations and modern time. He's exactly my age, but he wants to come. Yeah, He really is. And thank you for your daughters. Yeah, they do get deployed. But Mike seriously says he was never deployed because of his civilian job. So I think that he's trying to give it a little bit of an embellishment, and he's not somebody who was an active Army veteran who then moved into the reserves. He was somebody who went into the Army in the reserves. A couple of months later, went into a training boot camp, ADI, and Charlie knows which ones they are. And then once that training had been completed, he went back to his home base and was able to drill up until October of 1992. And as you can see in this particular one, we can see where he was assigned. This is the one assignment that they could give me from his history. Let me see. Oh, not that one. Sorry about that. I'm trying to read them. I can't read them from the screen all tiny. It says that obviously his section 7 current and previous assignments, record of assignments from 4/28/92 was the effective date. He was enlisted in Department 1, the 827th Supply Company, Rep Points, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he was given that particular assignment as a reservist. That's where they did find him assigned. But he left by October of 92. So if he was here, he had that assignment for 6 months. So it's not 14 years at all. And obviously during that time, oh, no, I'm gonna have to wait to clean that one up because it's got other people's names. I don't want to dox other people, even though it's a newspaper article. But Mike at 19 had a petty larceny. Okay, I'm gonna share this screen instead, and you can hear how he talks about his history with this particular Navy veteran. And I'm just asking because it's not what he's saying. You don't think about the reserves? Well, Mike does. Mike does. Mike does think about it. Okay. All right. I'm going to share this tab instead. All right. Normal speed. And just, oh, hold on, Mike. I'm trying to share this tab instead. Okay. I'm going to have to come out a little bit so I can get the stream going. Okay. Just to set this up. 60, glad you have it. Aged as he does. Well, he lost a lot of weight. He says, I'm chunky. Most people don't think about the reserves when somebody says they've been in the military. What is your, do you think they should consider it more? Because, I'm just saying that he's going to talk about his military. And I'm just saying that he's embellishing a little bit. Okay. His history was in the reserves, which is not terrible. But he tries to kind of give this impression that he was a drill sergeant. I just think it's kind of not who he really is. He certainly likes to tell some tall tales. I haven't said he's got stolen valor. I've never said any of that. I'm just curious how people perceive somebody who's been in the reserves and really didn't get called to active duty, wasn't deployed. And then he kind of tries to give an impression of maybe, sitting there with a thing with veteran behind him and so forth. I'm just wondering just how that's perceived. I'm not military. It's not obviously anything that's illegal, I don't think.
Well, got a guest. Haven't had a guest on my channel in forever and a day.
Probably since the last time we were here.
Yeah. Yeah, him and his wife, Gladys, came over when I cleared the land, helped me, but we had a hell of a burn. But as you can see,
still looking amazing around here, yeah.
Went and bought that swing I was talking about this morning. And, well, we're not going to sit in it together. Then we'd be two swinging vets.
Yeah.
That's what
I don't want to put the love seat.
No. I like it. It's not as beefy as I remembered it from yesterday, but
no.
It'll do. This is something I could have easily built, but it would have took time.
Charlie, he was not in 14 years. The military record clearly states it was only 9. He says 14. Military archivist who came back with my records said the only records they could find were from 84 to 92. So that's not, I think it was, maybe that's only 8 years. Maybe I'm giving him an extra year. Or was it 83? Maybe it was 83. 83, sorry. So yeah, it was 9 years. So he didn't even hit 14. So that's already irritating that he's fudged in 5 years somewhere.
That's nice.
To find these, you know.
And you're already decorating for Halloween.
And now I've got a thing I can copy off of if I want to build one. Very basic, but it works.
Yeah, it's not bad. And you'd already have the hardware.
Yep. Well, anyway, I had mentioned something about subscriber mentioned something. Well, he said stuff, but you know, to the effect that dogs, we worship dogs in our society today, and animals and pets. And I disagreed with him. And it wasn't the first time he had said things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had also mentioned that we're spending all this money on dogs and cats and pets when we have veterans living in the street, veterans suffering. Well, we're both disabled veterans.
They're choosing to do that.
They are choosing to do that because I'm going to tell you, you know, you can say what you want about the VA. VA takes care of us. I mean, it may be a little hard to get, you know, a claim in with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be. It should be. That's going to eliminate the people that don't have it. Now, if you have something that happened to you in service, which we both do,
mm-hmm.
you have that in your records. And so making a claim is a lot easier. And always.
So, Jared, you probably have a lot more experience. As I said, my stepfather was 28 years in the Royal Navy, not an expert in the U.S. military whatsoever. Obviously, I just shared the archival records and all that they were able to find around his branch of service, which was Army Reserves, which obviously we know that there are times they do get deployed and they do see active duty. Mike is going to say here clearly he'd never served active duty. And so I'm just curious because I know there's many, I live in a military town. Okay. I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I have military everywhere. So something about him just said, I don't think this guy really is as truthful as he is trying to be. So I'm just curious how you guys feel about it. Okay. Because I'm just showing you the paperwork. He can respond.
Guaranteed, but it's easier.
Oh, it still wasn't very easy.
No, they don't make it easy.
It took me about 6 years to get my claim fixed. Yeah.
Well, the paperwork is correct because that paperwork is the paperwork I was able to get through the Freedom of Information Act. So all of that thing about the discharge and the duty, that was found through the government records. And that's what they're stating. And I put him as active service. And they told me that doesn't exist, just these incomplete records of him being in the reserves. Now, obviously, my next step is to go to the Army, knowing that he was in the reserves and maybe being able to find out more. I found one assignment where he was probably at the very end of his time in the reserves. That's, all they've been able. But we did connect the drill sergeant school that he talked about in 1987 to the drill sergeant school that he was listed as having attended through the National Personnel Records Center. So those are just my verified facts at this time. Who's these 2 or 3 years active? No, it says 7 months. And that might have been just boot camp. Well, that's the story. Yeah, that's what most people assume. And that's why I'm thinking that I know people are like, what's the lie? Well, most people are going to think, listen to this video, okay? And tell me what you think. Yeah.
I got mine pretty quick, but I'd already went through this with Social Security disability, which I no longer have. But they do that for a reason. People, even in the VA, people are committing fraud, saying they got this and that. And believe me, you have to prove that you have an issue. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know all the issues he has. It's none of my business. He don't know all the issues I have. But it's enough for the VA.
I know it's crazy.
Well, yeah.
I know that one.
But the point is this, and I had mentioned that.
Now, the guy sat with him was 20 years in the Navy and just helped Mike do a bunch of work on his property. So it's just two veterans sitting down.
When one of these shootings happens, the first thing the media is asking is if they were a veteran. They're somehow relating these, you know, combat, and because we know how to fire weapons, they seem to think that that's a trigger. Well, this guy that did this Mormon shooting, now here's my theory, okay? Yes, even though he was a vet, and they were listing all his medals. Well, those are medals that are automatic. Same with the Navy. I was in the Army.
We call those the I do medals.
Yeah, you're going to get
the right hand. You say I do.
Yep.
Here's your medal.
You get a good conduct medal. If you go overseas, you get a in a war zone or whatever. You get a McDonald's
medal.
Yeah.
Mike doesn't have any medals. He's got some badges from his time in the reserves when he went to his training school. He's got the grenade badge and the whatever badge, but that's it. People at the National Personnel Records didn't find any Army. They just found reserves. And I didn't ask for reserves. I asked for active Army. Unless he was an officer, they would have found it. They found me Raymond Krebs, okay? I'll show you Raymond Krebs at the end, just to show you. I have found Raymond Krebs' 2-year military record in the Marines. I didn't get any of his assignment stations or the extra paperwork I got with Mike, though. So Mike's was much more interesting.
Just for serving, you get a medal.
But that guy was a mechanic, okay? He didn't see combat.
That too.
So to blame that.
Well, the only time would have been the Gulf War, and he's going to tell you he never went to combat. So just listen. I'm going to let him play so you can hear that he never went to combat. Per his own words, he was having to do his civilian job.
On him, because, you know, what he did, you know, he had a lot more issues in his civilian life than he had in the military. I don't know what he did, you know. He said he was a mechanic. We won't know for sure. But I can guarantee you, you know, and vets, you got to think of how many veterans there are. Millions.
Oh, yeah.
So they're people like you and me, you know. We're just the same. You probably, and most
I've taken care of a lot of veterans. Thank you, Mike, especially in this area. Thank you guys for your service. That's why I don't want people taking your honor when maybe they don't deserve. Say 14 years. I see 9-year history.
Veterans have a lot longer civilian life than they do a veteran life or a military life. So they're influenced more by what they do in the civilian life. But I guarantee you, if they do.
Well, my stepfather served in the Falklands, and he also had to go to like Sarajevo when all that stuff was popping off in Bosnia as part of a NATO deploy.
Do something wrong, they know it's wrong because they know it's wrong. That is a difference. You don't get into the military. Well, you shouldn't get into the military with bad mental problem. But it happens.
It does happen. I mean, not very often, but it does happen.
But
only military we have showing is the reserves. That's the only record we have is the reserves. The letter, I showed the letter from the personnel records. They don't find him. They only find an incomplete record in the Army reserves. So I'm just trying to figure out how much is he able to sit here and talk about his Army service. I'm just curious. You guys let me know.
that chain. I gotta.
Oh yeah.
If they hear that, so I just wanted you to, you know, since he was helping me,
little bee flying around,
that's one of them sweat bees.
Yeah.
I just wanted you guys to hear it from another veteran's viewpoint, and he was in the Navy. He retired, 20 years in the Navy, and
20 years, 28 days,
you know,
about 4 hours.
Yeah, if you got issues and you're in the service now, or you just got out, if you got something that happened, see what happens, at least in the Army, if you get hurt, You got an issue. I can name several times.
Yeah, it's very stressful when a loved one has to actually serve in combat. Quite a lot when my stepfather was sent down to the Falklands. It was pretty bad.
I had ear infection, other problems. You don't go to the doctor because you miss training. It's frowned upon, and they need to change that. And I think they're working on it. But there were so many things you went for, but if it is not listed in the official records when you are discharged, make sure you get that. Because you may not need it for 20, 25 years, but like with my feet, that developed over time, but it was in the records that I had bad feet when I re-enlisted the second time. So they knew about it. So
I don't know about a second time re-enlistment. I'm curious to when he re-enlisted, because they didn't find, and was it a different branch from the Army? Because I'm sure if they had you re-enlisted, I would have seen that somewhere in the paperwork. I'm going to contact the Army because I want to verify the re-enlistment. I'm not going to say that he has or has not. I don't know. Maybe that's the missing 5 years. But around about that time, Mike was getting into all sorts of trouble too. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I don't know. I don't know about this re-enlistment. I'm not getting those records. And I'm sure the archivists are really good.
You got to make sure those things are recorded and keep those records. But even if you don't keep them, they're going to have them.
Yeah, because there's like one of the things that he's talking about. If it's not in your record during your time of service and it's something that happens to you later in life, like, for example, I actually have frictional alopecia.
I mean, is it common to have a 7-month active service while you're also listed in the reserves? Because it coincided at the same time when he was in the reserves listed. And that's the only branch they list. They're not listing him as, it's like Army, like I had with Raymond Krebs. So we will show the difference in the letters, okay? So that you can see what a letter looks like when I actually identified somebody in a branch of the military. So that you can see that there's something different between this record and one where somebody was easily found having served.
On my legs. And so basically from the midway calf down, I have no hair on my legs. And it's caused from wearing boots and socks and stuff like that for years and years and years in the military. And I actually tried claiming for that, and it was not in my record, so I couldn't prove it. So that's just one of those things that, does happen.
You don't make a claim because you ain't got hairy legs?
You better believe it.
You know where it went? I can tell you where all the hair went.
Yeah, it all came up.
Why don't you cut some of that off and we can glue it on there and you're good. But there are serious things that you might have an injury to your back, and when you're young, you bounce back. But when you get older, you start getting degenerative disc and all that.
You don't bounce back.
You're not able to work like you used to. And
all right, Mike. He's never able to work. He stopped working at 55, guys, but he wants to criticize me and I actively work. Okay, let me share you Raymond's letter real fast so you can see what a letter looks like when I find an actual record for somebody in the military, and we'll compare that to what the archivist said, and then obviously that they state him only having been in the Army Reserves. Now, if he re-enlisted, I'd love to know how that happened. Okay. So this is the one that I got for Raymond George Krebs. Here it says, you can see his name. There's me again. In Vabiache. loving the life and vibe, guys. Okay. Thank you for contacting the National. I'm going to have to read this. Otherwise you'll see me just staring up close. Okay. And yeah, he was not deployed because he actually is going to say, Charlie, he's never had a deployment. Okay, thank you for contacting the National Personnel Records Center. The military service information provided in this reply has been extracted from the records on file at the center and is released to you under the Freedom of Information Act, as amended in 1974. Yeah, Mike dropped out of high school, he said, in 9th grade. Raymond George Krebs, okay, listen to this, served in the United States. Oh, they forgot the T there. You can tell that was written by somebody, okay? That shows you the archivist actually typed this out. United States Marine Corps from April 25th, okay? They're very clearly stating for Raymond George Krebs, okay? April 25th, 1994 to June 14th, 1986. I used the same type of identifying details to get records on Mr. Dunn. Okay, and this is the letter that they came back for me on this one. Let me remove this one because you could just kind of see the difference here. Is this the one I have? Let me remove from studio. Okay, remove that one. So I'm going to be big for a second. Let me go. Here we go. Okay. All right. So this is the one that they sent me on Mike. So you can just kind of see the difference. Okay. Got for the boot camp. Yes. Claim VA compensation. Probably. Some type. I don't know how that works. People are going to have to let me know how that works. And then here for our friend, it says clearly, it says that a search of the electronic record systems maintained by the Military Service Department has identified an incomplete United States Army Reserve record. That's very different from the record you just saw in the letter that I had from them and Mr. Krebs. Anybody can go ahead and use the details that I have listed on these people's names, their date of birth, their places of birth, their branches of the military that they've claimed, and double check under the Freedom of Information Act. It doesn't cost a dime. And this is how I've been able to retrieve these records. And they haven't, what does incomplete mean? Meaning that he said that his records were a mess, but it's United States Army Reserves. So something is incomplete in his Army Reserves record, but it's not. But as you could tell, when I use, if he had had a very clear-cut record of being in the Army, he went in around the same time as Raymond George Krebs into the military. Krebs was, I think, 84, and Dunn was 83. So they're very close in date for electronic records. And I put in, when I requested, specifically the branch being active Army. And they didn't even, they came back with mentioning the reserves. So they never could locate anything connecting him with active, like, Army service like that. They only ever found his branch as being the Army Reserves. As you can see, that's very different. So that's what he needs to clear up. So I'm going to write to this department and see if I can find out what the maybe it was his assignments. Like, we only had the assignment in 1992 to that one supply station in but maybe he had other duty stations while he was in the reserves that are not in the records. But we pretty much know that that was his branch. Those were his dates of service. And maybe we're just some of his duty stations that are incomplete. So that's what I'm thinking. Anyone who's been to boot camp remembers the company and division, for example. Okay. Does Mike say his? Yeah, I think he just needs to clear it up. Yeah, just clear it up. I think that's the best thing. I don't know. I don't know if he does or does not remember his. Okay, let me take him back on the stage and let him finish this out, his conversation. He's a bit slow talking.
There's a lot of people that think, people, disabled vets and people on this, and there are a lot of people on disability that should not be. Mm-hmm. More on Social Security disability And they're young. They're claiming mental claims, and ain't nothing wrong with them. I know, man. I worked at that pawn shop, and they would be in there every third of the month saying we got our crazy check. There was nothing physically wrong with these people. Nothing.
Yeah.
And they have a quack they go to that everybody knows about, and they go there and he'll sign the paperwork, and then they get it. That happens. The fraud is.
There's people out.
So it'd be interesting if he reenlisted after 1992, but they're not finding anything, guys. I'm sure if he had had a reenlistment in 92, they would have found him, unless he went into a completely different branch of service that we're not aware of. The records don't find him.
There too that will help you with your VA disability. And we actually, me and my wife went through a few of them before we finally found someone that was able to help us correctly. And we did have a few that had asked, do you want to claim this? And it was like mental PTSD or other things that I know I do not physically have. And I told them flat out, like, no, I'm not going to claim that. For one, it's not my record. Two, I know I don't have it.
Yeah.
But, they're trying to push those things. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I went through that too with a guy that helped me at first. And he said, well, you can claim PTSD. I said, I was never in combat. I went in before any wars. And, and then the rest of the time I'm in reserves, and my unit was actually called up. But because I traveled around in my civilian job, I just never went, it ain't my fault. You can't think less of me because of it. It's just the timing. I was too old for that.
Now the unit, that supply unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma, did get called up into the Gulf War in 1990. But the Gulf War ended in 1991, and Mike was assigned to that unit in 1992.
Unfortunately, obviously Navy, we have.
I just showed you that assignment. So this particular one, just to share it here, this particular unit was called up and did go serve in the Gulf War. But as Mike just explained, he wasn't called up because that unit probably wasn't called up in 92. I'm just trying to get the military timeline together too. But he's got all sorts of interesting, details. He kind of gives some of the story, but it's, a little bit, maybe not as truthful as you would like. I'm just saying.
I haven't been in like a huge naval battle in a long time, but I'm actually one of those rare breeds that I did boots on ground in Iraq with the Army. So I was actually deployed. We were one of the first full Navy battalions.
Well, I know, but they don't show anything in his military thing about any re-enlistment, Charlie. There's no re-enlistment shown in his military records at all. We could surmise all sorts of stuff, but that's not what they're saying here. It says he's very clearly all he had was reserves from that date to that date. So literally from 83 to 92 with an active port of duty from September to May when he potentially was going to training camps. They didn't find anything in the letter about a re-enlistment to anything. There's nothing that states. So I'm just saying, I think he needs to clarify it. We can give him all the grace of the Lord on this one. But it's just, I'm just going by the facts that I'm seeing here verified by the records folk. Now, the incomplete could be incomplete duty stations because we only found one duty station the entire time, which was in 92. But the other record about the drill sergeant school, his different badges, lengths of service, all of that's complete.
That went and worked doing the counter rocket and mortar defense. So that system that the Army was getting was actually a Navy system, and why they were still training them.
And remember, the first time he went in was 17. How much younger could he have been going in? So he was out sometime in his 20s from the reserves. And then he went on to do, at some time during this time in the reserves, he committed a petty larceny. I needed to block everyone's names out, other than Mike's, which he admitted to the shoplifting. And then he had some other, other charges in 97. He's got, other things that were just, driving offenses mainly, probably around alcohol use and speeding and not paying bills, But I'm just saying, it does the 14 years, all of this, it's not being found. I found Raymond Krebs' 2-year military history easily. Once I actually found out where Raymond was born.
There, folks, they were using the Navy to operate that system in the theater of war. So that's one of the things I did. So yes, as a Navy guy, I had bullets flying over my head.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be listed in his records? What is he really enlisting into the reserves? So did he do 2 re-enlistments into the reserves? Maybe. And they just show it as one long duty? I mean, that's a good question. But I don't know if it's like the re-enlistment like he's saying. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of embellishment going on, Charlie's mom. Charlie's mom's got expertise, though.
I'd have to drive by the fence. Even though we were still on base, we never left the base like Army or Marines. But we'd still see gunfire. We'd still have mortars coming in every single day. So
I lived in Cleveland. You could get that there too.
Yeah.
But
so, I physically don't have PTSD from that.
But I would say the very small percentage of these shootings are happening. They're not happening by veterans. Yeah, we had Timothy was that the guy that did the Oklahoma City bombing? Timothy McVeigh did that. But I think he was nuts anyway, before he went in.
I mean, you got these good old country boys that can shoot guns sometimes better. I've seen people shoot. I ran the gun range in the Navy, and I've watched some of these people come up to shoot pistols and couldn't hit the target at the 3-yard line. So
there's some that never get it.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be scary sometimes.
And and I'll never forget this. I will never forget this. Now, I trained as a drill sergeant, so I was out on the range, and I'm overseeing these guys when they're shooting. And it was the first time they'd ever been to the range, a cycle of guys, and
sorry, I came off camera because I realized I was munching away, and that's rude, guys. I'm sorry, I'm hungry. I've been busy all day. Not necessarily called a re-enlistment. Is this for the reserves? Because he was a reservist. And not to say that's not service, but he's talking about his work as a drill sergeant here after all he did was a 2-week camp. And then he was back over in the reserves. So I think the point I'm trying to sort of push out here is he's giving a much bigger story sitting with a veteran when this is not when he was just drilling everyone's. I'm not to say that reservists are important functions, but it's not the story this man tells. And he certainly wasn't 14 years. There's no history of a re-enlistment here, as far as like showing, I mean, maybe he had to come back in and sign up for more times in the reserves. Maybe they were 4 and 4. Who knows? I don't know enough. Shooting for the 3-yard line. I know. Charlie's mom's giving this guy a lot more grace.
He's got it.
But I just think there's no 14 years. There's no hidden 5 years. He did 9 years as a reservist with 7 months showing active for training is what I'm understanding. Now, unless it's typical to have a 7-month, active duty that's never reported under personnel records. It was listed under reserves. It's literally sitting in government paperwork, okay? I didn't type this up myself.
Is M16, okay? That's what we had when I was in. They weren't AR-15s. They were Vietnam era M16s.
Yeah. For 2 weeks, his unit probably needed some extra folks, so they upped him to an E4, let him take a 2-week drill sergeant school while he was a reservist. It's not saying it's not a bad thing to do, but it's not the story this guy's saying, where he's literally talking about being a drill sergeant over a platoon. I don't think an E3 could even make us an official army sergeant. It's a guy full of shit. Okay?
And he's going to take his first shot. And what does he do?
Charlie.
Instead of, aiming at, he's like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I jump on him. I said, do you think you're back home in the hood? That is not how you hold a weapon, soldier. And you would be surprised how many of them did that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to question, what have they done before they got in here?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens. And there's some that are terrified of it, and they don't realize it until it's in their hand. And when they have to actually fire, they're so terrified. And sometimes it's so bad they got to get out,
Oh, we have a bunch of people that are terrified, just even of the pistols. We use the Beretta 9mm.
Charlie, I understand what you're trying to say about the re-enlistment and so forth, but he's not got 14 years record from this government paperwork. This is all government paperwork. There's no, I understand that the periods of time for a reserve may have a 4-year contract, and then he had to sign up for another 5-year contract or 4-year contract, or however it worked at the time. But it's not like a re-enlistment, like he's trying to say that he re-enlisted back into the army or something. He spent his entire time as a reservist. There is no active army service past that this guy did that the military record as service, like they did Raymond Krebs. And it's not to say that your daughter's work and being sent as a reservist and all of this is not important, because it is. What I'm trying to explain is that Mr. Mike here, his story isn't fitting. And so trying to make pieces work to make his story work is not what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at the pure facts that they are here. That's what I'm saying. And he clearly says he never served combat. And the one station he talked about that served combat, I just showed you. He went to that particular assignment in 1992 for 6 months, but he would have been drilling with the reserves. I don't know unless he spent an actual time for 6 months at that Tulsa location. He maybe, but that's not, they didn't say he was active during that time. That was just showing reserve. The only time active is that little bit of time that he had for 7 months. He had 2 weeks, it said, where he went to drill sergeant school. Because they obviously have to be relevant. He was never a drill sergeant. Thank you, Charlie. No, he wasn't a drill sergeant. He went to drill sergeant school probably to get some skills for his service command. And they had to take him from an E3 to an E4 just to go to that school, because he discharged in an E3 after 9 years. And maybe he did sign up. I don't know how the contracts work, okay? But to say that's like a re-enlistment, I think is a little like embellished. You know what I mean? Maybe he did re-enlist into the reserves, but not into the army like that.
And I think that's a lot how they're raised.
Did not like shooting that gun.
But there are conscientious.
I know.
Words
are hard.
Objectors. But I don't think this was that. They were just afraid of it. Mm-hmm. Too many TV shows, I guess. I don't know. But they're very safe because they teach you how to handle one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Charlie's mom, I know you've been around since my foodie beauty days. So him talking about the fact that I only cover men, I know you know that's not true. Charlie's mom's been around with me for a long time.
Sleep with it. You live with it. I don't know about the Navy, but the Army, you are issued one in basic training. You don't have them with you all the time in basic training, but when you're in the field, you do.
Right.
And it doesn't leave your side. So
yeah, that's one of the things I was not used to when I went to Iraq is that weapon that was given to me, which was the M4, is just a shorter M16, and that was with me 24/7. It never left my side, even though we were on the base and stuff. We didn't have like full magazines. We only carried, I think, 7 rounds at most. But other than that, yeah, Navy, you don't carry weapons unless you go to watch, right? Whenever you're standing some type of guard watch, that's the only time you ever handle a weapon. So it was a little different.
What about the Navy provost? I had a lot of those in the military with the town that I grew up in England. That's the military police always picking up the sailors.
Yeah. I think all veterans should carry. I mean, they do that in Israel. Is that Israel that does that? Yeah, when they leave the military, they get them.
Yeah, there's a few countries.
But if all the veterans had, and a lot of them already are armed, but if every veteran was armed, because they're well trained on them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You get active duty status while you're doing your training, and then you're back to the reservists. But his kind of, I think Mike implies in some ways that he was an active Army drill sergeant. Isn't that what it sounds like? I mean, what would you think if you were his audience? Naive to the military. Not having all this understanding of how many different levels and families with generations in the military. Just say.
There might be a little less crime.
Yeah,
but the gun laws now.
Yes, absolutely, Angel of Glass. You've been with me a very long time. And my first moderator. It's still here. I haven't scared you off yet. Even with all the new characters. Because I'm sure this guy's going to get very upset with me. But this is what the military is saying. I showed you the very clear difference between when I located at Raymond Krebs, very clear Marine record. Okay? And I've clarified that I found out that he is in the military. Compared to what was found using the exact same type of search techniques on Mike Dunn. It's a very different thing. And I got all these extra bits of information too about his reservist time. And not to say he didn't go active for training, but the way he tries to spin his narrative is not exactly the picture that we're getting from his military paperwork. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're not familiar with his story.
Like here, we can open carry. I would never recommend anybody to do that. If why? You're better off concealing. You don't want people to know you're carrying. I don't carry all the time, but if I go to a city or I go somewhere where, Walmart, because Walmarts are hot.
Mike's whole persona is sitting there, you saw, with the veteran thing behind his head. I mean, I'm not saying that somebody who's a reservist isn't a veteran, but I'm just saying it's not quite like somebody like my stepfather who really served 28 years in the Royal Navy and was really on like duty stations and like life completely interrupted by military service, missing birthdays and Christmases and everything that goes along with it. And I'm just saying that this person I don't know if you follow his story, Charlie, because that's his whole persona.
Spots now, and they do let you carry here, but there are places you can't. Just don't tell them. I'm not telling you to break the law.
How many do we just like? Is it okay if he can come out here and just lie about his military stuff? I guess so. I don't think it's okay, but I'm just saying because this is embellished. That's not that piece of paper he showed with that drill sergeant. Yeah, we showed you. We know you went to drill sergeant school for 2 weeks when you were in the reserves. And I'm not saying that the reserves aren't something, okay? But it's not the history that Mike Dunn sells on his channel. He's full of, okay? This guy is definitely not telling the truth, okay? You got to have to watch his stories.
Oh, but if I'm going somewhere where I know could be dangerous, I'm gonna be armed. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'll probably lose some subscribers for talking about it, but I don't care. That's my feeling on it. If look at the world we live in today, the church shootings. You You think for a minute that would have
Right.
happened?
He claimed he was infantry. Exactly, Charlie. Thank you. I know you have the expertise to figure this. Help me figure this one out. Yes, he's claiming a lot of things that are not the case from the record. He was a reservist, and he's really sits like this is his whole persona as this military guy. I don't think that's right.
Over there across the street?
No.
No. Because I guarantee.
I'm talking for the military, not to say that, like I said, okay? But most people would assume, like many, because I live in a military community. I come from a military family. Many have active service and then will become reserves. And that, I think, is how Mike tries to give this history. And I think he is not honest about that. And I think if people honestly knew his true military record, it wouldn't seem as impressive. It's his whole brand. He says he was a drill sergeant. He never was a drill sergeant.
To you. Most of them boys, they're packing. And there's one, I know for a fact, there's one behind the pulpit. Well, I guess the camera got too.
Oh, yeah. He actually threatened me, all sorts of stuff. Absolutely. Because he doesn't want me to find this information. And as I said, these are only the records I have. I will try to find out, like, was it an incomplete assignments? It's not an incomplete active duty record. That is not what's missing. If anything, it's just where his assignments were when he was in the reserves. We just found one. But they found a lot of his history. They found the time he entered, when he went active for his trainings, his different badges from the different training schools that he attended, the 1987 2-week drill sergeant academy that he went to, or school, or something of that nature for 2 weeks, and that his discharge was an E3 private in 92. The only history that the U.S. military records is that Mike Dunn was a reservist, and he spent 9 years in the reserves for the Army, finishing out in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Hot. I've never had this camera out in the sun, so we're gonna
Overheated, folks.
But I'll put a link to his channel, Ivy's Family Factotum, and the Daily Scuttlebutt. He needs subscribers.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it. Yeah, our Scuttlebutt channel, I've even told him too, we're not monetized on that channel yet.
I mean, this is like, he really tries to give in his Dogman vlogs and everything. Okay, let's look at Mike's tier levels and we'll finish it out, guys. 130 comments, probably people thanking him for his service. Oh. I mean, not that, the reserves isn't service. Big bad veteran is afraid of you, Ray. He's shaking is not. Well, he's a big bad veteran. Yes. I mean, I don't know. You guys are military. I don't know how it works. I just know he wasn't like in the Army like that. I know that. Not the way he likes to say. I know he's going to be very upset with me. Okay. So you can join Mike's community. Okay. Now, he put these all free now. They used to actually be money. Okay. But he's got one. Look at this. He looks like, he's got a promo. I didn't realize there was a promotion. Is YouTube running promotions on channels that I'm unaware of? I have no idea. But otherwise, it's $2.99 and $6.99. And here you can get a mountain climber for $24.99 on this channel. And then you get some badges that he's not even taking the time to get a artist. These are just YouTube's regular badges. And you can get all these different, probably nothing special. Let's see. Oh, no, I don't want to join. Hold on. Oh, let's go back. Show my credit card. That actually isn't my card. You didn't see anything exciting, guys. Okay, let's go over to his other channels. Gosh, okay. This is the Dogman one. Let's see how many, because he's got a couple. It's got 46,000 subs here. You got more join features. Here is where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels. And you get pup at $2.99, cat lover, guard dog, big dog, and Great Dane. So I know he likes to say that he doesn't take money from his audience, but it seems the same. Look, he got a big view on something, and then his views are pretty much like mine, which is wild. Because look, that's insane. This guy's a joke. Well, I think it's not honest about his channel saying he was a drill sergeant and doing all this stuff when he just went to a school for 2 weeks. You were in the D3. I was in D3B Platoon 3. Well, thank you for your service, Charlie's mom. I know you did real service. This should irritate you, Charlie. This should irritate you than anything, because he really likes to say that he's, a military guy. I mean, not to say that he wasn't in the reserves, but it's not like the drill sergeant, 14 years of service this guy was screaming about in his video. Not much he can say, honestly. Yeah, he just got found out. Well, I mean, I'm going to go back to the Army and see if there's anything else. But like I said, when I looked at the Ray Krebs, they very clearly said 2 years in the Marines. Ray Krebs of all people from Offended Outcast. I have his military record clarified. They didn't show me any of the assignment stations or anything. So I just saw that Ray was in the Marines for 2 years. I am just saying this is all I've been able to find. Both of these individuals entered into the military around the same time. I used the exact types of search parameters. I obviously went to the same National Records Center. These are government agencies. Everything is released under the Freedom of Information Act. And I got quite a lot of information in reality. I think they were confused in some ways because I asked for active Army, because they do have a part where you can say reserves in the search. I suggest you go do the search yourself and see what you get. And, I just find it interesting because because this whole channel, the whole persona here, let me play a bit more. If you take a look at this whole persona, it's the veteran and the flag and all of these things, and talking about honesty and flags and freedom and, accountability and responsibility. And what I'm finding out is somebody who's had quite a, after I guess he got out of the reserves, it really went downhill for Mike as far as getting in trouble with law enforcement. These are things that, most people aren't doing. I couldn't have my nursing license and behave that way. You were active duty. I had more balls. Yeah, that's very true. Well, maybe, so you understand. I know you were explaining about the recruitment. So you understand about the reservist and the going active duty for the training and so forth. But that was that was just active for training. And I know that your husband would understand this too as a recruiter. So I would love for you to get, your heads together and break it down, because it's no 14 years that we're finding in records, Charlie, at all. So, and he says very clearly he never went to combat. So he didn't get anything for combat duty while he was in the reserves. So I just think that it's interesting. I'll be curious. I know he's going to be angry. I'm sure we'll be screaming defamation. But these are public records. That's it. I don't say that he didn't have other, but currently, and like I said, I matched it to where he talked about drill sergeant school in 87. And it's for 2 weeks. We saw that where he held up the letter and it just said it was 2 weeks. Let me show that image again. Right here. These are Mike's orders. And he went to the drill sergeant school, DDS, for 2 weeks. It was a leadership academy. that this is his, whole thing about being a drill sergeant. And he went from his E3 status up to E4, but then he went back to E3 when he was discharged from the reserves. So in that time, he only ever ranked up to an E3, because that's what his discharge says right here, that he discharged as an E3. First class private first class was his discharge rank. So he never went past an E3. So he didn't have even the rank to have become a drill sergeant. And they very clearly tell you his dates of service. Here's his training camp academy time with the stuff Charlie was pointing out. And we can see that he got some of his badges for that time that he spent here. And then the majority of the time he was on the reserves. I mean, that's all he was an Army Reserve. No, I'm saying that's all he was. I don't want to be belittling, because I already belittled the CNAs and they got upset with me today. So I don't want to keep upsetting people. All right, guys. I do appreciate it, because this was somebody who was new to the community. So I really do appreciate you guys if you stopped by and watched. I know it's never fun when an investigative channel starts to look at the authenticity of people's narratives and stories. Reason why is I just want to make sure that we are holding our creators in some type of, that people will love to tell a story on YouTube. And so, I know not to do that, because people will find you out. And so I just say, be cautious with your creators. Now, is this going to make a difference in his channel? Probably not, but it's going to certainly make him interesting content to talk about. Now, he hasn't been putting out videos for the last couple of days. Maybe he's talking to those attorneys, but I certainly do have my rights to reveal. And obviously the disclaimer is this is just verified public records, guys. What I have verified for Mike Dunn's service. All right, guys. He passed away. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie's mom. And you may have said something at the time. And so I apologize if I forgot, because I was feeling like something might have been said last year. So I'm so sorry for your loss, Charlie. I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, well, I think that you probably have the best memories, and you called him your sweetheart, and that you met him. So you gave me a meet cute story. So that's always awesome. So I know that you guys, you have special memories. Yeah, I know. We're so sorry, Charlie. All right. So Charlie, I know. Keep looking into this for me, Charlie. We'll see what Mike says next. That will be the tell, because I'm sure he's going to explode. He's going to make all sorts of threats. He's not going to be a happy camper. He's going to be thinking where I got all this stuff and trying to say I'm a lying, militant, fat vegan, or whatever he called me last time. All right, guys, make sure you hit the likes on the way out. If you are a member of the Life and Vibe community, I will be going live tonight. I think it's 9:00. I wanted a couple of hours off because I need to get my dogs fed and walked. And we will see you then. And I'll be doing a pre-birthday stream. And then tomorrow, guys, I will not be around. I will be taking the day off and enjoying my day of my birthday. So I am not going to be around. Okay. I just want to make sure I give everybody a round of applause for having joined us and helping me share this story. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. Well, have a great birthday. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of your support and for watching this stream. It helps the channel grow. I promise you. And so thank you. And thank you for the person who said, who sent me the chat. I really appreciate that too. Because it is, like I said, I wasn't downplaying being a reservist. I was just downplaying. I was just trying to talk about the honesty. That's all. Didn't say I was downplaying. I think that I just said reservist busted because I think Mike is just a reservist and didn't have the other part of the active military history that he talks about openly on his channel. 14 years, he said. I don't see 14. So where's the other 5, Mike? I'm lost. Help me figure it out. All right, guys. I'll check you on the next one shortly. Bye.